The 2025 Epstein Files Transparency Act represented a legal mandate to rip open the vault and unmask a global criminal network. On January 30, 2026, the Department of Justice fulfilled that mandate by dumping 3.5 million pages of documents, videos, and images into the public record. These files detailed ongoing contact between the network and former presidents, tech billionaires, and international diplomats. But this data dump alone didn't trigger accountability. Instead, it created a vacuum, proving how deeply these abusers had embedded themselves within legitimate, high-level power structures. The DOJ's execution of the release was immediate and flawed. Reviewers failed to redact the identities, email addresses, and sensitive photographs of the victims. By contrast, the records identifying powerful co-conspirators and material witnesses arrived heavily blacked out, with entire blocks of text withheld. Survivors' attorneys and United Nations human rights experts quickly condemned the process. They identified the exposure of victims and the simultaneous shielding of enablers as an act of institutional re-traumatization. This failure became a catalyst for the survivors. It demonstrated that institutions will default to protecting the Epstein class unless actively forced to do otherwise. Survivor-led civil litigation, rather than government initiative, has always been the primary engine here. It was the defamation suits against Ghislaine Maxwell that forced the first major unsealing of records back in 2024. Today, survivors are weaponizing the new 2026 data by joining forces with UN human rights experts to demand international tribunals. They are also pushing for Virginia's law, a specific domestic legislative tool designed to bypass the roadblocks that currently protect high-profile figures. Relentless physical pressure, including protests outside justice institutions, keeps the scandal anchored in the public consciousness. During King Charles III's U.S. state visit, survivors and their congressional allies demanded a face-to-face meeting, challenging the king to acknowledge the systemic failures protecting his brother. These tactics have shifted the power dynamic. Survivors have evolved into the primary force driving global legal consequences. This survivor-led pressure campaign is yielding sharply different results depending on the jurisdiction. In the UK, the reckoning arrived with the historic arrest of former Prince Andrew at the Sandringham estate. The European fallout expanded to include the arrest of diplomat Peter Mandelson and the resignations of 17 high-level global executives and officials. In the US, the response remains passive. Despite releasing millions of pages, the DOJ maintains the files contain no prosecutable evidence. Structural barriers provide friction. FOIA exemptions and stonewalling grind most investigative momentum to a halt. This stark international divergence reveals the U.S. justice system as a functional, structural shield for the global elite. Regardless of the legal outcome, the 2026 release permanently dismantled the plausible deniability of the network's elite associates. Long-standing relationships with the network, maintained even after the 2008 convictions, have inflicted severe reputational damage on previously untouchable figures. UN experts warn that corporate resignations and public shaming are not actual substitutes for criminal accountability. The ultimate legacy of these files is the undeniable exposure of a two-tiered justice system, which has eroded public trust in global institutions. Government officials and royals remain under sustained pressure because survivors refuse to let the data dump be the end of the story. Upcoming midterm elections could lead to aggressive congressional subpoenas, potentially stripping away the remaining political insulation protecting the implicated. What began as a search for the truth has become a demand for fundamental changes in how the powerful are prosecuted. True accountability in this era will not be handed down by governments. Survivors are currently wrenching it from them, inch by inch, through relentless advocacy.